You believe this is already week 3? It is. Um, Week 3 is going to pretty much take you through some rigors of shading. We're starting here with this first assignment in week 3, and what it asks you to do is to draw with a pencil a sphere. Now, go to page 142 and how to draw what you see, and this will give you some good ideas about how to start on all this. This is a really beautiful rendering for a number of reasons. Let me see if I can draw your attention to what I think is important here. If you look at the dark shadows, first of all, look at how nice we've got a nice scale of values or tones down here set up from a very light, the lightest possible, to a very dark, 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 okay? And this is particular one is a 7-step scale. You could make it an 8-step by putting white here, I guess, and assuming that was black. See if you can do as well. Make your little squares. Color each one with just enough color to make it a step darker than the next one, okay? Um, Now, let me give you a tip about values and tones. When you're trying to see a step difference, say from this to this, that's a nice step. You can do something that my friend Vincent van Gogh said was looking through your eyelashes. So if you close your eyes, that just a little bit, so that you're just kind of squinting through your eyelashes, that blocks out the, I think it's the cones that see color in your retina or perceive color. And just the rods, the black and white, starts to kick in really nicely. So you get rid of that chroma information, the color information, but you start to see the actual value, the tones, the lights and the darks. So anyway, that's a good way to look at a colored object especially, and try to see the value on it and not be overwhelmed with the chroma information that hits your eye. Anyway, you can see right here that very, very dark, dark, and then it's a gradual process, because this is a curve after all, a gradual process to this very light area here. Now, this can be achieved by, number one, understanding how to blend with your instrument, pencil in this case. Number two, get that light source. Now, I don't think there's anything magic about your light source. You can ask a really good friend to stand there for, I don't know, an hour and hold a flashlight so that you have a good spot. But it's so much easier to drag a table lamp or a floor lamp over, take the shade off, and slant that light, get it as close as you can so you have a really intense light source, and that will give you an extreme shadow here. When you've got these going for you, it's not a hard thing then to see that change and actually lay it in, okay? Now, this person, I probably, had this been a student's work, would have told them immediately that their perspective was wrong here. Now, it could be that they have an angled board to begin with, that it's wider at one end than the other, but it just makes it look sort of weird, I think. I'd like for that perspective to be fixed, but you didn't draw this, so I'm not going to tell you about that. Anyway, the first assignment is to draw this, look at that section on page 142 and the example, draw this in pencil, and don't forget there are 3 discussion questions that you need to respond to on that as well. Blending helps here. Use a stump, use an eraser to lift if you need to, and I'll talk to you some more about that. That's your first thing. Pencil, fairly easy, a rounded object, gradual shading. Think about that, okay? Now, second assignment kind of takes that and plays it a step farther. You're still dealing with sort of a sphere, only this time it's an oblong. It's an egg, right? So we ask you to take a dozen eggs. Now, if you're really scared of using raw eggs and you don't want to hard boil them, that's fine. If you want to hard boil them, that's fine if you prefer, but then you get cracks and all that. So just be careful where you're going to set this up. And this is also to be done in such a way as you get this wonderful scale, like we're showing you here, from the darkest dark to the lightest light. And then you're supposed to, of course, blend these in, only this time you're not using pencil, you're using charcoal. Now, there are a couple of problems with charcoal that you aren't normally aware of. One of the things with charcoal is it's really, really messy. So if you're a messy freak, just suck it up, get over it, okay? The other thing is it's kind of hard to lay one darkness in on another layer. So like you could do with a pencil, you could keep getting darker and darker by going back over an area. With charcoal, it's a little bit harder because when you go back to lay another area of charcoal down on top of a previously laid area, it lifts that. It's such a mobile kind of thing. It just kind of blows around. Well, let me give you a tip about that. Don't be afraid to use a fixative. Now, if you're saying, oh my gosh, I didn't buy a fixative, that's fine. You don't need to buy one. Best fixative on the market, and it's not even advertised, is skim milk, non-fat milk. Put it in some kind of an atomizer or some kind of a spray bottle and use that. You fix an area, let it dry, and then you could lay charcoal in on top of that and it won't move around so much. Now it's a little harder to lift, so I would just spray those dark areas. Another thing about using the skim milk, you don't want to spray directly on that area. What you want to do is lay your drawing flat on a table or whatever your surface is. Spray out over it so that the mist kind of drifts down for your fixative, okay? That's two good ideas there. One, save yourself some money and go ahead and use skim milk. And two, how you're going to apply that. And I guess even three, because that's the way you're going to work into some really nice dark areas. Now, let's go back to this drawing and let me point a few things out to you. Look up here. See how that little light area is lifted? Now, I can guarantee that the person who did this drawing did not keep that little white area there where they were shading the black. What they did was after they made that black, they went back with an eraser and drew a white line around there. That eraser will lift that charcoal so that you have that nice edge. And then, I'm not sure you can see it, but if you get really close, you can see that that person was also very clever. And next to that white line, laid in a very dark edge. And that makes that white just really kind of pop at you. Blending's a little more difficult with the charcoal. You can do it. Go for these darks and go ahead and give yourself a nice scale over there. That will be a huge help, I think. Then the third assignment talks about setting up a still life. Now this is pretty ambitious, and I've got to tell you, I don't think I would do this for this point if it were me. This is a chair and a drape, and you've got all the shadow back here and the drape and a frame, and I love the still life, but it's harder to do. If you want to be challenged, by all means. Harder to be good because there's so much here to draw. I think I would go with this other example if I were choosing one. Let me see if I can get this one out of the way. Yeah, just a bowl and a cloth and a little piece of fruit over there. Now, the trick on these, though, is you're asked to pick up really intensely colored. So now we're going to make you think about color on a value scale, all right? It's so easy for your eye and therefore your perception to be overwhelmed by bright colors. We tend to see them sometimes as maybe very dark, and they're not at all. So here again, remember the trick about looking through your eyelashes. If you just kind of almost close your eyes, look through your eyelashes, you'll see those shade variations so much better. Once you see them, then you can perceive them and, of course, proceed to draw them. This is a wonderful one. You'll notice some things going on here with charcoal again. You'll notice how you get in here, and it's really hard to get close to an edge because you're going to lift that edge when you go in there. So that's a little bit tricky. One of the ways some of these folks work with charcoal is they lift it in a hatching, or they lay it down with a hatch, kind of. You see how it goes up and down maybe, and then it goes diagonally over here, and then diagonally in a different direction. So that those strokes, by putting them close together in a hatching, lets you build up that kind of thing. This is the side of the charcoal by all means. But I definitely would recommend that you guys learn to use fixative as well, okay? This last drawing, it's still that same assignment, is a much simpler one, and I think a very wonderful drawing. Look at this nice kind of thing that happens here as the individual is using probably an eraser to lift to give you that light that will bounce that striped cloth out at you. And they very cleverly have arranged the direction of those stripes so that you get the feeling of the folds in that fabric. Nice renditions and all those. Look at the texture we're building up in the bowl. Beautiful. Look at that ellipse. By all means, look through your book on how to do this. And your other book, Drawing from Observation, has some good information on this too. Especially on the ellipses. Sometimes you all have a little trouble getting the ellipse on the top the same as the ellipse on the bottom. And remember what symmetry does on that too. All about shading, though, I got to tell you this week. And I think that even though you may be frustrated with the medium of charcoal, here again, suck it up, get through it. It's a wonderful liberating. You get this great free kind of sense because it's impossible to contain it like you can a pencil. But anyway, work with it, and I think you'll enjoy it. And then, of course, the fourth assignment for the week, your favorite, will be the critiques, and I know that those aren't your favorite, really. I'm making kind of a bad joke about that, but I got to tell you, you're getting better, and that's the important thing. Of course, you understand that the real strength in doing these critiques is that they make you look closely at what is required in that particular kind of drawing. So you have to look at that assignment before you begin a critique to give other people an idea of what's there, because so many of the times, you read an assignment, you think, oh, I know how to do this, and you jump right in and do it. Then when you go back and do your critique, you read the assignment again very carefully because you want to be sure before you hold this other person's feet to the fire, you know what you're talking about. And you find things that you really didn't know much about when you did your drawing. Almost makes you want to go back and do your drawing all over again. But anyway, whole process of learning. Y'all are doing great. Thanks for your attention and look forward to seeing your work this week.